Welcome to Divisive Issues, a comic book podcast where we talk about comic books. I'm Ryan.
I'm Sly.
I'm Phil.
And I'm Daryl.
Welcome back, guys.
Wow.
We did
finally made it to the reign of Supermen.
Well, guess who we're saying welcome back to as well? Superman.
Wait.
Superman, not necessarily the Superman.
No, Supermen.
Yeah, there's a lot of these guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, previously, Superman was dead, and then he was gone, and now there's a bunch.
Yeah, the only
Yeah.
thing better than one Superman is four.
You would think so until you find out the havoc these Superman unleash on the world.
This is one of those comic things that if you explain to someone, you're like, yeah, no, it's really cool. Superman's fighting this big, guy named Doomsday, and then he dies. And then four Supermen show up, and one's a big black guy in armor, one's a little boy, one is a cyborg.
Well, this is why when me and Ryan and Joe always talk about comics, we talk about Earth 1 Superman versus Earth 2 Superman. And even though like the stories we mentioned were actually legitimately good, there's something that it would turn off non-readers just by how ridiculous they sound. So Phil would be like, fuck you, Earth 1 Superman, fuck you, and you get drunk and yell at us and shit like that.
I know I mentioned this on the first Death of Superman episode, but it's still so funny to me that me and Phil had this conversation where he's like, these four Supermen show up and it's awesome. And I'm like, that sounds stupid.
Yeah.
It's like Bizarre World looking back on it.
Yeah.
So,
The premise of this story, like we hinted at, was there's four Supermen that show up, and they're all like, we're the real Superman, and they all fight each other over who has the title.
one of them's not like that, and he's the best one. So.
Yes. Well, we'll get to that because I think it's really clever what they did with that character.
Yeah.
So the story opens up with gang war in Metropolis. These guys with huge fuck off cannons called Toastmasters.
So dumb. I hate that name so much.
And the guys with Toastmasters are like unveiling them for the first time, so they're blasting apart all these other gangsters. And
They're like the biggest, stupidest 90s guns.
Yeah, they really look like 90s guns.
If you read X-Men with the 90s with Cable and you saw his guns, imagine those guns being carried by regular people, basically.
Yeah.
And so basically they blowing the fuck out of people, and the person who's selling them, her name is White Rabbit, is on the sideline saying, yes, my profits from these Toastmasters are going to be great. And while these guys are having this gang war, after these guys finish the gang war, because it's fucking slaughter, because it's guys with cannons versus guys with pistols, a guy crawls out of the rubble in the nearby construction yard as the police arrive, and he says, Doomsday, gotta stop Doomsday. And it's a big black guy.
This is the big black guy Phil was talking about.
Yeah. So then we cut to there's a guy in the rain trying to carjack another guy, guy with glasses, and the guy with glasses drives off in panic, and the carjacker starts firing his gun, saying, "Hey, fuck you, man!" And meanwhile, and at the same time, a big Superman. Like looking guy in the shadows flies out saying, "Oh, hold what you are doing! I shall burn you for your sins." Basically,
He's just Superman, but without the red underwear on the outside, and he's got cool glasses on.
Yeah, he's like 90s Superman.
And he basically burns the fuck out of this guy.
Yeah.
And the guy's just like, "You can't be Superman. He helps people. He doesn't toast him." And the Superman's like, "Oh, I have changed. I went to the fire of death, and I am now the new Superman. Wow.
Fuck you.
Yeah, fuck you, criminals."
I have been established as the Superman that burns people.
Yeah.
And then cut to
Cadmus?
our favorite place.
God.
At Cadmus, the Newsboy Legion, our favorite characters. Thankfully, their final appearance in the story as they break out the Superman clone, and the Guardian shows up and he's like, "Oh, where's the Superman clone? I'm..."
Guardian speaks for himself. He just shows up and goes, "Oh, something happened and I couldn't do anything about it."
Yeah.
He might as well not be in this whole series, and it would be the same.
Yes.
It would be less funny, I guess.
And then the Superman's walking off, and the newsboys are like, "Wow, good luck, Superboy," and goes, "Hey, don't ever call me Superboy."
And he looks like a Superboy. He has like a fucking pierced earring.
He's got like a jacket on his outside of his suit.
Yeah, I love that they cloned him. They cloned him and gave him an earring.
Yeah.
He was just born.
But, Superman has earrings. That's what you do, right?
Yeah, and it's in your DNA that when you get cloned, you also have earrings. And he's got like red gloves and a leather jacket and like a cool belt or whatever.
Yeah.
I think it's a denim jacket.
He's very like hip 90s teen.
I like looking back on this. I'm like, this is such a 90s comic.
Oh, yeah, it is.
In every way.
And the final Superman appears at the memorial site where Superman died, the place where he fell to Doomsday. and a new Superman flies down and burns the flag, and people don't notice it until he flies away that it's Superman, but he's a cyborg. It's like, who are you? Why are you burning that flag? And he's like, I'm Superman, but a cyborg, fuckers, and he flies off.
It's like the left side of his face is the Terminator head, and his right arm is a robot arm, and just like his ribs and leg. Like he's one half cyborg.
Yep. And that ends our prologue.
Yep.
Interesting. What's going to happen with all these Supermen?
There is a fifth Superman that shows up that I can't wait to get to.
Wow, spoilers.
No, not maybe. Oh, I guess in this case there's a sixth.
There's also a sixth one, yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, I can only think of 5.
Oh, we'll get to the fifth one now, Daryl.
Anyway, this is Action Comics Superman, and each of like Superman's main comics, it's like Action Comics, Man of Steel, and Superman. They all follow one of the different 4 Supermen.
Yeah, and the cyborg Superman's Dan Jurgens. The last son of Krypton, the visor guy, is that Louis Simonson?
That's Roger Stern.
Oh, that's Roger Stern. Louis Simonson does Steel, and Carl Kessel, newcomer, does Superboy.
Yeah.
So there's like an aurora borealis happening, and this energy being wakes up in the middle of the Fortress of Solitude.
Yep.
And he doesn't know who he is or what he is, so he flies around and like he doesn't have a body, so he just phases through things.
Yeah, he just sees on TV, but he sees on TV that Superman's dead, and he hears about, oh no, Superman can't be dead, and he flies off.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he finds his tomb, and he goes into his body.
Yeah.
Yeah, so now he's like controlling his body.
Yeah.
And he's also hurt by sunlight, so he needs to have a visor to protect his eyes so he doesn't get blinded.
Yep.
I actually think his costume's kind of cool.
I like it too.
I like it too. It is very like 90s where it's like you take the traditional superhero outfit, you make it like black kind of, and you're like, now I'm edgy. But it actually looks a lot cooler.
Yeah, me and Ryan talked about this at length about how I love two-tone costumes where you have, instead of having one solid color so it looks just kind of too colorful, you have two tones. So you have like dark blue on the outside and Superman's traditional light blue on the inside.
Yeah, and the thing that I think is really cool is the cape and the S on his shirt are connected, so it's like one like cowl.
No,
almost.
that was the thing I hate most about his costume.
I think it's cool.
I think it's cool too. I voted that I was wrong on this.
And he's got really cool yellow visors.
Yeah, I like the visors.
Cool.
And also, we didn't mention that, like, as this guy flies around, even in the prologue, when he burns people, he shoots energy out of his hands, which is pretty different than regular Superman. I forgot to mention that.
Yeah, he says when he gets his new body, he's just like, my body, I've changed for some reason. I can't see sunlight. Like, he's saying, like, something's different about me, and now I'm different inside, too, somehow, and stuff like that.
Yeah. He's also a lot more dramatic, and his inner monologue is, like, very Batman-esque.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's more of like a Batman Superman. Who isn't a Batman Superman though is Bibbo thinks back.
The fifth Superman.
Well, yeah, Bibbo thinks back to like all the good that Clark has done, and he's
Superman. He doesn't know
Superman. Yeah, he's not like, wow, Clark Kent was so great photographer.
What a great reporter.
Bibbo is like the schlubby bar owner with the heart of gold.
Yeah, so he decides he needs to start helping out folks. And so he dresses up in like a Superman sweater, and with he's like the boxing shorts, and he goes out to help people. And like in between the storylines, like he goes around just helping. Like one of the coolest things he does is he goes down to a pier where like all these homeless people are, and he hands out free food to them.
Yeah.
Which is like that's like Superman in heart, not necessarily like that Superman goes around delivering free food a lot, but he helps the little guy.
Yeah, it's like
Bibbo's the best.
It's like showing how Bibbo's trying to do, like what we did with the guy in the last issue where he got the guy a job. He's trying to help be the Superman for people any way he can. Yeah,
and that also has the out of the blue the darkest scene of this whole arc, which is this woman shows up and she's like, oh no, if I knew you were handing out food, I wouldn't have drowned my puppies. And she put them in a bag and dumped them into the water to drown them. So Bibbo goes down to swim to save them, and of the 3, 2 of them die and only 1 lives, and he adopts that one.
And Bibbo looks at the camera and he starts crying, and he's like, I can't even save a puppy. And this happens at the beginning of the book. I was like, what the fuck?
And when Daryl talked about how he likes Daryl.
When I talk about how I like myself.
I was about to say Daryl's likes Daryl's self-deprecating nature, but he likes Bibbo's self-deprecating nature, and I think it's present here because when he fails to save the other puppies, he just thinks like, "Oh, can't even save a puppy, you worthless old piece of crap," basically.
But then he takes the one that survived home with him.
It's great because he feels terrible about himself, but he's still doing like so much more than like a lot of the other characters are doing because they're kind of like being themselves still, and he's taking Superman's death to heart and being like, I need to emulate Superman. I need to emulate Christ.
He probably actually, out of everyone, takes that to heart the most. Like, everyone else is like, gotta get on with our lives.
Yep.
Or, and like, Bibbo's the only one who's like, I need to fill that void in terms of like kindness to others.
And as we'll see, the other Supermen are only Superman in name. Only one of them does like a good job of trying to be Superman.
Yeah.
Speaking of the one that's not doing a good job trying to be Superman, the sunglasses Superman.
We'll call him the last son of Krypton.
Yeah. The last son of Krypton
just rolls off the tongue.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Visor guy.
I'm glad I'm not doing this guy's issues because I know his real name, and I'm positive it's.
It's not Superman?
Oh my god, spoiler! But I'm positive I'll let it slip by accident.
I could have sworn he was Superman.
I actually thought the exact same thing when we were picking who does what, and I was like, I really don't want to get, and I almost just did it this time.
Yeah.
All right, so Energy Man, last son of Krypton, sees on the Fortress of Solitude TVs that there's like crime waves going around, and there's all these terrible things happening, and there's like people calling out for Superman, and he goes, "Yes, I hear you," and so he dresses up and goes out to fight them, and his whole thing is like, he stops robbers in a way that he feels is appropriate, I mean, usually by like lethal force.
Yeah, he kills people.
Again, though, this is some bizarre, fucked up universe where like everyone is willing to murder everyone at all times. So I feel so much less bad about this. It's not like it's a normal world. Like, everyone is just shooting at anyone.
But there's a later instance where there's this guy robbing a bank, and he goes.
It's the only time though
to stop him. I think he kills one other person that wasn't doing something like really terrible.
The carjacker was a shithead, but they deserve to be fucking burned alive.
Just because you're a criminal doesn't mean you deserve death.
I agree.
And when you have Superman's power set, you can stop people without killing them.
Yep.
Yes,
which
I agree.
he takes it like he takes great offense when people attack him.
And like the incident Daryl was talking about is there's a bank robber later on who gets stopped by him, and the bank robber's like, all right, I wasn't here to hurt anyone. I was just gonna steal some money. I don't even I was not here to kill anyone. And he's like, fuck you. I'm gonna burn your hands off or something.
He breaks off the bones in his hand.
Yeah, he basically did it so his hands are so mangled that he has to be on pain medication for the rest of his life. Basically, like it's so much agony for him.
Yep.
While he's out going around like saving like a plane that crashes, he meets Lois and takes her away, and she starts talking to him about like how much you remember. Like, are you really? She wants to say, "Are you Clark?" But she can't ask him if he's Clark, because then that would reveal his identity.
Yeah, that'd be like me spoiling that this guy's not actually Clark.
Yeah. So he says that he has like some memories of the past life, but like that life is gone. And he says, "I'm sorry, I grieve for your loss, Miss Lane." And then he says, "No, we cannot speak of this again. Things have changed. Kent is gone." And he flies off. Because he is Superman 24/7 now.
Yeah, what's interesting is...
he's doing what Phil said he should do, where you give up, this is Phil's favorite Superman, because he gives up his personal life to become Superman 24/7 and
that's what I wanted him to do.
and also, he kills these asshole criminals like he should.
Yeah.
And Phil wonders why I call him Fascist Phil.
Make Metropolis great again.
I also think it's interesting that every Superman from this point forward is going to have a meeting one-on-one with Lois, so we all get to see how much they know about his past life.
Yeah,
so,
and how convincing they are to Lois.
Right, and what does she see in this person? Are they really Superman? Are they Clark? This guy knew he was partially Clark Kent, I think, right? He says that.
I felt like some of those scenes got like a bit repetitive, because after these 4 issues, the next 4 issues is when she starts comparing them, because each of these is like, it happens at the same time, where she's like, "Is this Clark?" And she makes no mention of the other men when she meets them.
Yeah,
well, some of them, Man of Steel she meets later on, and I think that was a well done scene. And I think Superboy, we'll get into it, but I think I like the way they mix it up, the way they meet each other. This and Cyborg 1, the other ones treated like real events. In my opinion.
That's true.
So, getting into the next story, Man of Steel 22, there's a man, Henry Johnson, and spoilers. He's the guy that was calling out the rubble before.
Okay, for the record, Henry Johnson is a pseudonym, and they reveal very soon that his name is John Henry Irons.
Yeah, and spoilers again. He's played by Shaq in the movie. He becomes Steel, so this is basically Shaq. So imagine Shaq when you imagine his character.
Also, the coolest part about him is he starts out in his story arc telling some kids about the story of John Henry, the steel driving man. And as a kid, I thought this was the coolest shit ever. I really did.
And as he's talking about like the trains coming and like all these steel, like, you know, he was hammering the steel tracks and all this stuff. There's like cuts of the big giant guns from before. And it's kind of cool.
The Toastmasters, basically there's a gang war going on nearby while Henry Irons is talking about the story.
And they're the new technology coming in, just like taking over the streets, and they end up killing innocents as well, not just
poor Keith. One of his friends gets blown away.
What's his name? Like Zoido or something?
Yeah, Zoid or something. Zoidberg.
Zoid. Yep.
Zoidberg.
Why not Zoidberg?
You've killed Superman. Why not Zoidberg?
But Johnson, Henry Irons, finds out about that Zoidberg was killed, and he's like, "No, my favorite Futurama character!" And chases after the guys, but they're fucking guys in the car, gang members in the car with fucking Toastmasters, so they obviously fuck John.
They drive him into a wall.
Yeah. So and he ends up in the hospital, and in the hospital, Keith meets up with him, and John tells Keith about how Superman saved him when he fell off a construction site, and he says when Doomsday fought Superman, he was buried underneath the rubble because he was trying to go help Superman as much as he can. But when you came close, the rubble Doomsday caused an earthquake, and the rubble crushed him. And so when he woke up, basically he was so delusional because after being months buried in fucking darkness, that
I don't think it's months, maybe like a couple days,
months without water,
decades buried under the rubble with the fucking mole people, or like
the Morlocks.
Yeah, he's the Morlocks actually, and he's like, it comes out in a giant frog saying, "Doomsday, gotta stop Doomsday."
Get in my mouth.
Yeah, but
the thing that I really like about the story that he tells though is that he says like he when Superman saved him, he was trying to save somebody else, and he fell off like this construction tower.
Yeah.
And he thinks to himself, "I'll never be able to make up for my sins now." And Superman saves him, and he's like, "Thank you so much for saving me." And he thinks to himself, like, "I have a chance to redeem whatever dark past I have."
Yeah.
And Superman's like, "Don't waste this opportunity you've been given."
Yeah.
And like, I actually like the way they slowly ease into John Henry's backstory.
The John Henry Irons reading the story, I think it holds up very well. I love using the mythology of John Henry Irons, the original mythology. I love because what happens is he comes home and he creates an Iron Man suit, becomes Steel from the Shaq movie.
He's Iron Man, but with a hammer.
And that's so fucking cool too, because he uses a sledgehammer as his main weapon, the same way John Henry did.
I fucking love that too. Just a fucking sledgehammer for weapon. And so what happens is the gang tries to kill him while he's making this Iron Man armor, and basically puts it on and saves his neighbors in his building. And one neighbor he saves is a psychic, and the psychic says, "Oh, this guy was Superman. Like he obviously he doesn't sound or look like Superman, but I could tell
it's his spirit born into a new body."
Yeah, what they call a spirit walk-in or something.
Yeah, basically says like when one person's like spirit is like dead, another spirit can come in and take it over basically. And she says
it is done in a very like this lady's kind of crazy way.
Yeah,
like the comic isn't trying to convince you like, no, this is the ghost of Superman.
That's what I like about it though, because it seems like such a crazy theory, but out of what's become blatantly clear, like this guy's the most like Superman.
Yeah.
So even Lois is like, maybe he is Superman like in some way, like because he acts. He's the only one out of all of these that acts like Superman.
Yeah,
saving people
definitely.
and stuff. And I think it's cool. Like I said, I think it's cool because obviously Steel's the least likely to be the real Superman, but he acts the most like Superman.
Which you mentioned too when he fights, because even though he has a sledgehammer, he doesn't kill anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so then, meanwhile, Lois is wondering what the fuck is this fear walking shit when she meets Jeb.
Jeb Bush.
And she's like, "Why didn't you win the presidency, Jeb? Now it's your fault. Trump won."
No, it's just some old fling named Jeb.
Yeah, and I just bring that up because one subplot throughout this entire arc is that Jeb's trying to woo her back.
He even says like, "I'm happy being the rebound guy. Like I want to bang her."
Yeah, like forget Clark, forget Superman, just fuck me, please.
Yep. And she's like, "Oh, Jeb."
But just like the real Jeb, he comes off very desperate, where he's like, "Please collab, please date," and she's just like, "I can't really vote for you."
Yeah, and so Man of Steel tracks down the gangbangers that killed Zoid, And he realizes the Toastmasters are actually the weapons he made for the military, and he basically is like, all those deaths were my fault.
That when I was reading that, I was like, wait, what? Like this came out of nowhere. It's like, I made the Toastmasters.
It's the first time you hear his like weapons development past at all.
Yes.
Yeah,
So he's just like,
It's also his first issue ever, though, so it's not like it's.
But that's the thing. I didn't know because it was comics. I'm like, was this a character I was supposed to know already? Because he's using a pseudonym, so...
That's why, even if this was a character you would have known, I think the way they like, when I read it, I felt like it was a new character, and I realized later it wasn't a character.
Though, right? Isn't this?
It is, but I think... Even if I think they handled it way well to introduce it, because they hint that there's something dark to his past. He doesn't have his real name, and he's when like Brian mentioned, when he's reflecting on his past, he's saying, I did a lot of shitty things and I wanted to die. And Superman told me, don't stop doing this shitty stuff in your past. Try to make up for it. So they hinted all that stuff before. Now he realized.
I just figured it was more normal, not weapons development.
Oh yeah, by issue 400, I created weapons, and now I'm the guy on the streets.
Yeah.
But so,
okay.
the White Rabbit takes out the remaining gangbang before John Henry Irons can interrogate her. That's where we find out that he's John Henry Irons, and that she knows him.
Him somehow.
Ooh.
Also, White Rabbit's design is terrible. She's just like a half-naked lady all the time.
Yep, huge lips, Angelina Jolie with like white hair and big
Yeah.
boobs.
very.
I kind of like her design. At least we were shitting on him in the last
Bogdanov?
story. Bogdanova. I think his art here is where it really shines, because there's a lot of more action in the story.
Yeah.
And also,
yeah, definitely.
I think, like, we might say White Rabbit's design is lame, but it's very distinctive the way he draws her.
That's true.
Like, I think worst thing for a character, especially for a character who's like a nameless, not nameless, but like who's just a person, like a mob boss type character. The White Rabbit, I think, is very distinct and unique looking.
Also, did you notice
agree.
in one of the flashbacks with her, she's black?
Yeah, it might just be a coloring.
Yeah, maybe she's Michael
Whoopsies.
Jackson syndrome.
It's weird.
Or it was a mistake, Sly.
All right, Superman 78, Phil.
All right, so this is our first appearance of Cyborg Superman besides the prologue, and
He looks exactly like he sounds.
yeah, we explained it before, but he's just half Terminator.
I think he looks scary and pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And this issue is largely just one big action scene where he's like going to Cadmus to
Get Doomsday's body, because he's like, oh, I can't allow this.
he says you have no idea if Doomsday is actually dead, if he can come back to life. Like, you guys can't, or you could clone him, something like that.
Also, everything we know about Cadmus is that they're fucking useless.
Yeah, and Guardian tries to stop him, and I don't even have to say how successful it is, because we already know.
Actually, what's funny is this whole organization's a joke, because they see something flying at their screen or whatever, and they send out those fucking 90s like wing glider guys.
The wing gliders that couldn't stop Doomsday or Superman when they were shooting them both.
And they're like, go get him. They can't stop us. And he just flies past them. He doesn't even fight them. And then when he shows up to the facility, Guardian and all like their million laser things just all shoot him. And he's like, I am Superman. Give him to me.
Yeah.
And he flies through the floor to where Doomsday's held.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when he gets to the Doomsday door, they're like, even the original Superman couldn't get through that. And he's like, good thing I'm a metal man who can hack anything. And he opens the gate.
Yeah. So we find out it's not that he's just a cyborg. His metal side can like integrate or assimilate other electronics.
So he's not just Terminator, he's actually RoboCop, too.
Yeah, he actually picks up his arm, just like hacks the machine or something. I'm also skeptical that the original Superman couldn't bust through anything Cadmus made. Like they're really dumb.
There's probably this like him trying to pipe himself up, the owner of Cadmus.
Yeah.
No, the owner of Cadmus trying to convince himself, like, he can't break through that door. He can't break through that door.
Guardian's gonna stop him.
Yeah.
I'd like to think that since Superman died, Cadmus just keeps making claims like, Superman would never have been able to do this thing that we can do, because
Yeah.
there's no one that can refute it.
Yeah.
Guardian would have been able to beat Superman if he tried, but now we'll never know. And then he just grabs Doomsday's body, and he's, it's
I really like Jurgens' writing, because when the
Yeah.
cyborg Superman sees him, he says in narrative bubbles, destroyer, berserker, murderer, they never even bothered to wash my blood off, you butcher. Even in death, you wear it like a badge of honor.
I like that a
and
lot.
again, it personifies both like how people have treated Doomsday and what Doomsday was really well.
Yep.
Yeah, and he talks about, because Cadmus is a bunch of fucking weirdos who fucking make aliens and shit. He knows they're not gonna destroy Doomsday. They want to make
Yep.
him to make a million Doomsday army, and they're so stupid they'll probably do it and fucking kill everyone because they're fucking incompetent.
He compares it to giving children the keys to a nuclear arsenal, and
He
he's
calls
like,
Cadmus a bunch of children, and
Yeah.
he's right.
and he's like,
He's not wrong.
they should have destroyed your body long ago. I love too when he sees the Doomsday body. He's
They
like,
have the Newsboy Legion, so he's not wrong.
when he sees even Doomsday's body, he's like in shock. Like his eyes widen as he sees it.
Yeah.
But anyway, so the best thing to do with this body is fly it out into space, tie it to an asteroid. Again, more awesome writing. These cables will be your burial suit, and he ties them to it.
He leaves some like tracker on it in case he wakes up.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
why
don't
doesn't he
know.
throw him into the sun?
That's a great question.
That's a great question.
We'll get to that. There's a reason for that.
oh, really?
There is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not in this story, but there is.
Because
in
he
this-
like he uses his computer brain to like plan out the trajectory.
Okay, Sly. Not any future story, just like within this story that's constructed here.
First of all, the writer for this wrote that next story, so I think he had in his mind what he was playing to write.
Okay, all right. That's
Instead of throwing him into the sun, he analyzes a trajectory where he'll float forever, never seeing a planet again. Somehow he has the whole universe in his computer brain.
He has computers are so much smarter than us now. Imagine if you were like computer Superman, like you'd be so much smarter than us.
Okay, and he throws him, and then he meets Lois Lane, and like we have one of these scenes where he goes up to her and he's like, "You are the first one who named me Superman." And
I like how he's like, "Oh, I am Superman."
I never read him in a robot voice, but now I can't help it.
Yeah, but I was about to say because I think this is actually an emotional scene because he's talking about he's actually very emotional, saying like, "I can't remember my past. You have to help me." And she's like, "Oh, that's very convenient. You can't remember your past. Fuck you. You're not Superman." And he's like, "But I remember Kent. I remember all this stuff, but just
I remember a farm in Kansas.
yeah." And he has it has a very emotional look on his face. So like this is. Personally, when I read the story, I was convinced this was a real Superman. Like,
Yeah, I was too.
Like, because like he's there's a sincerity to him in these scenes where he's fucking trying to.
Well, they also take him to Professor Hamilton, and he
Yeah.
runs tests, and he's like, "This is definitely Superman."
yeah.
yeah, and like it's actually him.
the machine is Kryptonian in nature.
Yeah.
And his DNA is the skin part is exactly Superman's DNA.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we found the right Superman, so we end our story here. So
Yeah.
Yep. Thanks everyone for tuning in.
that was Superman.
I've been Guardian.
Also, I do love how Doomsday wakes up in space laughing.
And they even say no one can hear you in space, but if we could bend the rules of science, you would hear him laughing the fuck up.
I like that line though.
No, I do too.
Like we said, that we just to like clarify, the thing about Dan Jurgens that makes him really unique from the other ones is he uses a lot more narration, and this is one of the issues where it really shines is narration.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So now we meet everyone's favorite of the Supermen, Superboy.
Oh, yeah.
Does anyone like him the most? Can't be.
I will defend him.
There's
at
people
the
out
end.
there, definitely.
I don't hate him, but I don't like him.
There's people out there that like Shadow the Hedgehog, so
Oh, and I think there's two ways to like the characters in the story. It's the 90s. There's a 90s cliche stereotype that they're parodying here, and the actual character work they do with the characters.
I actually think that other writers do amazing things with him, even this iteration. of him.
I would argue the writers here do amazing things
but
with him.
I don't hate him.
He go. I would say right here. He usually goes through the most character development out of any character in the story.
Okay, I agree. So let's start this. So Superboy.
He's Superman.
Okay,
Yeah.
don't call him Superboy.
Literally, the cover says Superboy crossed out man. Poster.
So the issue starts with there's like this like Superboy calls her a beautiful babe running, and there's these like goons that are like, hey, look at this hot chick, let's run her over with our car
Yeah, I
and shoot
love-
guns at her.
I love this. Again, this is like what psychopaths live here?
And Superboy saves her and gives her a kiss and steals one of the bad guys' cool circular sunglasses.
I mean, when you're Superman, they'll let you do anything, you know.
And she looks right at the reader and says, he's my Superman, but in some ways he's still a boy. And it's like, yeah, like in his personality and appearance and age.
And everything that could be quantified.
Yeah.
He's literally like 10 days old.
Yeah, it's revealed that he says that he's a clone of Superboy, and he tells this to Lois Lane, and Lois is like, fuck this guy.
Yeah.
And Jimmy Olsen says like, hey, you're some kind of Superboy, and he grabs Jimmy Olsen, he's like, fuck you, I'm Superman.
And that's why, like, what we talked about, like the scenes of them being Lois being repetitive. I like this scene is not really like a big event. It's just a throwaway scene where he sees Lois, says, hey, I'm Superman. She's like, fuck you. And then he sees another reporter, a hot reporter, and he's like, fuck you, Lois, I'm going to chase this hot reporter instead. Basically.
Yeah, it's Tana, right?
Tana Moon.
Tana Moon.
Yeah.
And he kidnaps her. He's like, you're too hot to be a reporter. I guess that's a thing.
He kidnaps her.
And
you guys ready pussy.
yeah.
That is his character. He's very forceful.
He really is, and he's just like,
Yeah.
I'm Superman. Like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Yep.
So he convinces Tana to be his like exclusive like press agent or whatever. So she like puts him on on her TV show, and there's even a scene that I like a lot where it's their news organization like head what's his name, Vincent Edgelord or whatever.
Yeah.
Vincent Edge, father of Morgan Edge. Vincent Edgelord, father of Morgan Edgelord before.
So Vincent Edge is like, they're like, shouldn't we treat his reporters like, shouldn't we cover them all equally? And he's like, no, we are the news, we can make whatever narrative we want. And this is I was very affected by this. But
I was triggered.
yeah.
It's very clear that Vincent Edgelord is a piece of shit because not only is he very clearly biased and manipulative of Superboy, he's also he literally grabs a woman by the pussy. Like he grabs sexually assaults Cat Grant in an issue before.
Oh yeah, he was the one from a while ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, come over for dinner, baby.
Yeah. So he Superboy is like all hooked up. Like he's like their reporter now. He has his own headset when he fights supervillains.
And they stage these fights for him. Like this is completely.
Well, Superboy doesn't know this.
I know, but like this is completely like unethical journalism. Like they basically send them into a gang area to provoke a fight with all the. Locals.
Okay, it's not just a gang area. It's a gang area with 100 million explosives everywhere.
Yeah.
And buses that have spiked girders on the front.
Yeah.
This is fucking like Mad Max.
That's what I thought when I saw this. I was like, this universe is absolutely ridiculous. It literally is a Mad Max fight scene where they have like literal cars with spikes and rams on them, like giant machine guns everywhere. The whole city's like rigged to explode at any second.
The guy who's in charge wears goggles that have red lenses.
Like doomsday glasses, and he has an iron hand.
Like, what does this guy do? Like, what is his job? He's a criminal, obviously, but what?
I imagine him as like the job, like the final boss in the video game. Like he's waiting in the final boss room for Superboy to come in. And he's gonna go throw my pits and layers.
Yeah, and so Superboy beats all these guys, and it's shown that he's not quite as invulnerable as Superman. Like the fire actually hurts him a little bit.
Yeah.
He's still like fucking everyone's shit up.
Yeah.
But then afterwards, Guardian shows up and he's like, "You did a pretty good job. I'm gonna pretend to be your mentor right here," and then disappear.
Oh my god, this was so dumb because he says like, "You had me looking out for you." Like I
took out those guys.
there was like poison bombs or something. He's
Yeah,
like, I disabled.
they were gonna gas you, and you didn't notice.
Yeah, this thing that didn't happen, I did it. I helped. So
The best part is Guardian's like, "You have to be more alert. Like you have to be a better hero." And then he disappears. And then next time we see Superboy, Steel is just doing a better job at this scene.
Yeah, Guardian's completely pointless because this moral is better implemented by Steel.
He does the other thing Guardian does best, other than losing, is condescending to people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Superman, did you really have to destroy that house to kill Doomsday?
Yeah. So this is when Vincent Edgelord tells Tana that he's arranging the supervillains and he's going to arrange more, and she's like, "You can't do that. That's unethical
Journalism.
journalism." And he's like, "We can't replace Superboy, but we can replace you. So get in line, otherwise you're fired."
It's crazy too because it's not even like unethical. Like they're making up interviews. Like it's like they're like committing terrorist attacks just so they can film them.
That's what I mean. Like Vincent Edgelord is not just like he's kind of shady. He's a piece of shit. Like he's completely immoral.
Yeah, he should be arrested.
Yeah.
He should be made chief strategist for the president, right?
Yeah.
The last son of Krypton should burn him to death.
Yeah. So then we get a scene with Lex and the head of Cadmus where Cadmus is like, "He's not a true clone." And then it's like, "Oh, what does that mean? Is he not really Superman's clone?" Dun dun dun. End of issue.
I just never cared when they were like, "How cloney is he?" I'm like,
It is a plot point that he's not clonely enough.
It doesn't really matter until after this arc.
Not
though.
clony enough.
Oh, we should mention it now because, like Ryan said, it doesn't matter in the story. But it turns out he's half like Luthor's clone.
what?
Oh, that's pretty good. I like.
Yeah,
that.
I think it's actually a really cool twist
because then the arrogance makes sense.
And also, it's a really cool twist because it makes Superboy doubt himself, like his behavior. Like he thinks, like, I want to be like Superman, but like, am I actually more like Lex Luthor than Superman? Like, am I really a piece of shit? And like, it creates a lot of tension inside himself, and I think it's a really cool twist.
Why would Cadmus want to put Lex Luthor in?
Because Lex Luthor, like, it might be, like Lex Luthor. Keep in mind, in this world, he's like viewed as like
He's like a peak human being.
Yeah, peak human being, basically. Because he's the smartest person, the richest person, and he's very physically fit.
Okay, I
Donald Trump.
this doesn't matter for the story, but it's very short, and I have to tell you because it's the coolest comic book story I know.
Fuck you.
So when Superboy was originally just no, listen,
I'm listening.
Superboy was originally just Cadmus scientist and Superman clone. And then Jeff Johns, when he was a kid, wrote in around this time, and he's like, he should be half a clone of Lex Luthor. That's so cool. And DC was like, no, that's a dumb idea. So then Jeff Johns was like, I'm going to work really hard and write Superman and make that canon. Fuck you.
So that shows you kids, you can be whatever you want to be, even Superboy.
Yeah, all your dumb ideas can be the best ideas DC has. All right, and so after Superman, we jump back to the Kryptonian. And this issue is it starts with Guy Gardner reading about all the news of all the different Supermans, and he's like, I can't believe it. Like, look at all these chumps that are trying to be Superman. So he wants to go see them and put them in their place.
And so basically the whole issue is basically just Guy Gardner fighting Superman, and Superman basically, they land in front of a bunch of gang members, and this Superman fucks them up, like, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does a number on Guy Gardner, too. Like, I didn't know why he was so, like, smooth and calm. It's like, wow, if I didn't have my energy field up, I'd be dead.
I think he says, if I didn't have my shield up, I would have been decapitated.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's funny, too, that he thought so easily he could just come in and beat up this new Superman.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, after Superman like fucking murders people in front of Guy Gardner, he's like, this guy's pretty cool. And he says like, I'm your fanboy now, Superman. Please don't kill me. And Superman's like, okay. And he flies off, and he's like, wait, if Guy Gardner likes me, I must be a real piece of shit. Maybe I'm doing something wrong here.
Yeah, he needs to reevaluate because, yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's a cool scene because like we've already established that Guy Gardner is just he always thought Superman was too much of a Boy Scout. So when he brutalizes these gang members, Guy Gardner's like, that's how you deal with criminals. Got him.
Yeah. Guy Gardner's Phil in the story.
I did like that the last Son of Krypton wasn't just like leaning into it more, like, yeah, Law and Order, more of this. That he is like, wait, what is Superman? Like, is this the right way to be Superman?
Yeah.
Yeah, none of these characters are like clear. Like we said that only Steel is like really Superman, but it's not like the other ones are like bad guys. It's more like questioning different facets of Superman's character.
They're all generally doing good favors. The thing is, all of them feel colder or harsher or more mature than the real Superman. Like, none of them have his spirit, except for Man of Steel.
Yeah, and the only other thing that really happens in this issue is Maggie Sawyer, the cop, gets promoted to heading, like, a squad of people investigating the Supermen, and she gives a press conference being like, they're all vigilantes. We shouldn't trust any of the four of them.
Yep.
Yeah.
So then we get to Man of Steel 23. The Man of Steel continuing his search for White Rabbit. He flies down during a gunfight of gang members.
Every single roof that you crash through has people selling giant guns in the city, apparently.
Yeah.
Like, every single building.
Metropolis is just like a fucking infested city of crime and
I actually like handling the crime Metropolis this kind of way, where the criminals are so technologically like crazy that they can fucking wreak havoc. Because I think that's where you create an interesting challenge for Superman. Like, where like Batman could never face these guys, but I think it makes an interesting challenge for Superman.
If Batman had enough planning, he could fight him.
How could they not have taken over the city and like the state at this point and become their own little country?
Because Superman was there.
But that's why I think it's a cool chance for Superman, because without Superman, these guys would fuck up the city so bad. And they say, like, now Superman's dead, we can fuck up the city so bad. Like, I think that's cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm on Sly's side.
I'll buy it. I'll allow it. This book shall not be burned.
So, while Man of Steel's fighting these guys, trying to knock him out, Superboy flies in, and he's like, hey, I'm Superboy! Cameras, look at me! I'm Superboy! And basically starts dodging all the gun blasts without caring about the news conference behind him. And the Toastmasters basically... while trying to shoot Superboy, they blast.
They incinerate the helicopter pilot next to Lois.
Yeah.
Since she's also there reporting it. I thought that was gruesome.
Yeah, the Daily Planet is reporting, and Lois jumps out as the fucking helicopter pilot just fucking burns up and dies.
It's really gruesome.
Yeah, and Man of Steel saves her, and that's when she starts thinking, like, this guy is the most like Clark, even though Man of Steel says, like, I never said I was Superman, I was just trying to tell people, and he flies off. And Superboy's now in front of the cameras, like, yeah, I'm the greatest, I'm Superboy, fuck you all. And then Man of Steel grabs him while he's in the middle of this press conference saying, you were endangering civilians, you weren't paying attention, and Superboy's like, you're not even Superman, I'm Superman. I have
Well, the thing that I like about what Superboy says here is he says, like, I only did that to get their fire away from you because you're just a guy. Like, I could take it, you can't. I was trying to be a hero.
Yeah.
And Steel's like, yeah, but there's more than just getting in the way of fire. Like, you didn't see what was behind you when they aimed at you. You killed that pilot.
And that goes back to the street fight before, because during that fight, he was very haphazard to like the danger around too, and that's why he was surprised by explosions and stuff around him.
And I was also surprised at Superboy at the scene because I expected him to be like, yeah, fuck you, you're just a square. But when he flies away...
Yeah, but he does the same thing with Last Son of Krypton, where he thinks to himself, it's like, I do think, don't I? I am careful, but am I careful of anybody but myself? Like, they're skeptical of their original viewpoint.
Yeah, and I think that that's a lot more nuanced than usual. Like, look at this cool teen character.
Yeah.
He
Yeah,
just
I
tells all
agree.
the adults to fuck off.
I'm just surprised he's able to succeed without Guardian taking out all those guys.
Oh, yeah.
Like, where was Guardian here?
Well, that's why the helicopter pilot died.
Yeah, Guardian's not there, what happens? Well, that's why I said, like, I feel like on the surface he's supposed to be like cliche 90s characters, but there's substance to them, all of them, and there's growth to development in a lot of ways.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, behind all the scenes, Lex is trying to like get control of all the Supermen and get them under his wing. And basically, he's trying to get control of Steel. He basically tells her where White Rabbit is, and Steel goes to meet the White Rabbit, and he finds out that it's his ex-girlfriend Angora, and he's like, "Angora, you're white now. What is this? You used to be black." But they used to, and it turned out they used to work for the military together until Steel's weapon prototypes were stolen to be used on civilians in a country called Korak.
Iraq.
Yeah, it's basically Iraq.
Iraq. They're like with a Q in front.
Yeah.
Kurak.
Yep, Kurak.
They've actually mentioned Karak in Superman up to this point. Like, it has been like a Middle East stand-in for a long time.
It's like Latveria.
Yeah, they do that a
Yeah.
lot. I think for like they have like a stand-in for like Somalia and stuff like that. Like countries they don't want to burn or
Yeah, they don't want to offend with the comics, but they
Yeah.
need to use as an example.
yeah,
Yeah.
And I also do find that it makes it less dated.
yeah.
Because like you can use it if it was a specific like country, then I guess we've kind of been at war with the same countries for a really long
Yeah,
time.
I was
But
gonna say, if it was
in
Iraq,
general,
it's
it would have been avoidable.
In a more sane world, it would have been more dated.
Yeah.
But it turns out so Angora, White Rabbit, steals prototypes for his street. She's like, I'll offer you a cut. But he's like, no, fuck you. You're doing bad things. You gotta stop doing this. And she takes out a Toastmaster from behind the couch and blasts him away. And he falls in a gas truck and it fucking explodes. And Superboy's nearby and he saves Steel. And as he does so, he burns up his hand, indicating he's not invulnerable.
No, he says it's psychosomatic blisters.
Yeah, and somehow Steel in a completely metal suit is okay.
Yeah.
Like, he has
Yeah.
some insane padding on the other side of that.
I really do. I'm like, what metal is this made of? It's not steel.
Especially because he's going to get in a fight with the Last Son of Krypton later. It's like, if Guy Gardner is having a problem, how could this guy that makes steel in his basement?
Well, if he can make fucking cannons that can fucking blow up
No,
people.
it's not fucking steel. This is like an Iron Man suit made out of like adamantium.
No, Sly is right though. He is a military grade weapons designer.
But that you can turn everyday like metals into.
But he's called Man Steel, but I think it's just to invoke the Superman legacy, not this is steel
But
material.
still, like, where's he getting? What metal is it then?
Are there fantasy metals in DC?
They
or
are
no?
fancy metals, probably. I know Marvel has tons of them. So
Yeah, I know like vibranium and adamantium or whatever.
Yeah.
I would be surprised if DC doesn't have shit like that, especially if they have aliens more commonly than
yeah,
Marvel.
he probably made it out of unobtainium.
Yeah. So the White Rabbit fled while Steel was blowing up and not being hurt with his fucking steel armor, and Superboy's like, "Oh, what was up with that woman? Why she blast you like that?" And he says like, "That's the reason I feel bad for being harsh on you because." I was blaming you for not causing that pilot to die. It was actually much of my fault too, because I created the weapon, I killed him, and so they basically create this kinship where they're both like we're both kind of pieces of shit sometimes, and we have to try to do better. And don't be too harsh on yourself. Just try to do better, basically.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So the next issue is another Cyborg Superman issue.
And everyone seems to hate this issue apparently.
I don't hate it.
I don't hate it.
It's done in a very different style where it's mostly narrative text on the side.
It's literally just a person writing, because it's Clark Kent's successor to his position, writing a newspaper article about the Cyborg Superman.
I think it's a cool change of pace, where it's like let's give you dialogue, like let's push the story forward, but in the lens of this writer.
But did you say you didn't like this issue, Daryl?
What? No, I don't like the way the events unfold is really crazy.
Okay, so Phil.
Yeah, as always, these the bad forces in this universe are like always just on the right outside the city, just ready to blow everything up.
Outside the White House in this case.
Yeah, so he's writing about all these new Supermen, and in this case, yeah, there's a press conference at the White House or something with the ambassador from Iraq. I mean, Iraq.
Yeah.
And classic White House attack story that you've probably seen in movies or something.
It's basically White House down in comic form.
Yeah, the limos have guys bust out with
A van of terrorists with guns pop out and yell, "For Iraq!"
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they go to attack the White House, and look who shows up? Cyborg Superman, and he just basically fucks everyone up. He fucks all these terrorists up. They're just blasting him, and the White House has laser cannons on it.
But it aims at people indiscriminately.
It doesn't. It's just he hasn't been registered as friend or foe.
No, but doesn't it show them shooting the ambassador and the writer?
Oh.
Like, it's shooting around them, too.
Just more bodies left behind in the wake of the Clintons.
But after the terrorists are dispatched, he deactivates the security by himself with his technology.
It's crazy too because he's they say again here, not even the original Superman could withstand such an onslaught from the White House guns.
It's more just Cadmus blowing smoke up.
Yeah, I
people's
like
asses.
that they keep doing it to show you. It's like, no, these Supermen are really strong. It's like, not even Superman could withstand this.
But the whole point of this issue is basically after saving the president, now he's like the president endorsed Superman.
And it's more than that. He logs into the White House network and he downloads all the data of the world.
All the
Yeah.
data!
He's I learned everything about all the
all
that means,
Americans!
That means he knows the nuclear weapons codes.
He's basically like Apocalypse, where he's like superpowers.
Yeah.
Yeah, he touches the TV and he's like, I know all things.
And it's just crazy. And then after that, that Bill Clinton comes up and he's like, you know what? You're a good man. And it's like, we don't know who this person is. He's half robot.
Literally, terrorists were attacking, a robot flies in, kills the terrorists, and then downloads all of America's data, and Bill Clinton's like, I'm gonna hire you.
But he used the data to stop another terrorist attack. Somebody planted a bomb inside the White House, and he stopped that too.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was a
Yeah,
purpose
he
for
melts
that.
the bomb.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, you're
but
right.
still, this is a little. It's just so extreme that how quickly that America backs this Superman.
I think it's because first of all, you had Dr. Ham. They already say this guy has Dr. Hamilton's endorsement and stuff like that. They say and they have and I think it's because they legitimately believe he's a real Superman anyway. Most people seem to be convinced he is either way.
But still, it goes from just 0 to 100.
Also, is Bill Clinton a fucking morally unflappable, reliable?
Again, I didn't say that. I just think it's crazy that they're like, that's fine if you have all of America's data to one creature.
In the DC universe, this is what causes him to get impeached.
Yeah.
Are you joking or not?
I'm joking.
I didn't know either.
Yeah, I'm that's plausible.
And then Cyborg Superman gives Bill Clinton a cell phone that he grew out of his hand that I assume has a private email server.
Yep, this isn't a bomb. Just take this, President.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah,
too.
he's probably emails on this. No one will ever hack it.
Yeah. And just don't let anyone know that this isn't the .gov email.
So, Adventures of Superman.
So in this issue, a car of teens wants to meet Superboy, so they drive off a bridge, and he catches them, and is very blasé with the car. He throws it around. And he's like, "I'm getting to saving you."
He's like, oh no, I'm gonna drop these kids into the ocean. Whoops. Just kidding.
And then Supergirl comes and helps him out, and he sees Supergirl's rack, and he's like, "Oh no, I was chest choking. I mean, just joking."
He's
Yeah.
just ogling her too, by the way.
He's literally staring right at her boobs, or technically the emblem on her chest.
Technically, her skin, because she's a shapeshifter.
Oh, that's true.
That's what I was gonna say. This is just raisin goo.
Yeah.
Hey, she's still a woman.
Yeah. Don't kink shame. We talked about this before, Phil. Don't kink shame.
I know. I'm just saying.
So she wanted to meet him and offer him a contract with Lex, so she invites him to dinner.
Basically, Lex Luthor is trying to win over Superboy by appealing to his hormones, by basically waving Supergirl's boobs in front of his face.
Well, it fucking works.
Yeah,
Because
really.
he's like, yeah, I'll come.
I'll do whatever. And she's wearing this dress, and she's like, you want to hang out? We can work together every day, right? And he's like, I'll do literally anything.
Yeah, he's like.
And this goes back to why I talk about Supergirl being stupid, because she's like oblivious that Lex Luthor's using her in this way. Like,
What I don't get is he actually like, so they cloned Superman, but they made him into the body of a boy, including hormones?
No, they said he was still growing, but the Newsboy Legion broke him out before he was fully
Newsboy
grown.
Legion stopped him before he could finish his development.
Okay. So he's actually going through puberty.
Yes.
And I'm also for pointing out, at one point, Lois talks with Mom, Pa Kent about how stupid piece of shit this Superboy is. And they say, like, it might be because, Mom and Pa Kent say, oh, our son never like that. We raised him better like that. And Lois is like, but you raised him. What if he didn't have your raising? What if Superboy could do whatever he wanted? Like, he'd be a piece of shit.
Like, you didn't raise him, is what
Yeah.
she says. And I think that's a really cool line. Like,
Yeah.
you didn't raise this kid.
Yeah. And meanwhile, some guy
Rex Leach.
hires a hitman named Stinger, who's just Deadpool.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, Rex Leach hires Stinger, or as Superboy calls him, Stinker. And so Superboy's like, yeah, I'll sign on with Lex. And then
Yeah, they have a dinner together.
yeah, and Lex, he means to think this, I guess, but Superboy's like, oh no, I'm supposed to meet Tana at my apartment. She's gonna kill me. And Lex says, I hope not. I'll reserve that privilege for myself. And he doesn't think that. He says it.
I think he's joking because, like, I was your boss. I thought as a joke as your boss, I'll be your... Because Tana's his boss now. Lex Luthor wants to have that privilege for himself. I think it's a joke.
But because of this whole story, we keep having Lex be like, I'm a hero, and then he thinks, actually, I'm a villain. I'd like to think he slipped up one time.
Actually, I'm Lex Luthor, not Lex Jr.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, there's a funny joke where Lex Luthor turns to Superboy and he says, no, we have a lot in common, you and I. And Superboy's like, yeah, you're a clone too? And Lex Luthor's like, ha, 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 ha.
Yeah, haha, good one. I am not a clone.
Yeah. And then when Superboy gets to his apartment, he's renting Clark Kent's apartment, apparently.
Yeah.
And Rex Leach is there, the guy who hired that assassin. And he's like, I too have a blonde, busty daughter who's kissing you a lot. Sign my contract instead.
And he does.
Yeah, he does.
And this guy works for Vincent Edgelord, by the way, too.
Yeah. So now he's exclusively the property of Vincent Edgelord.
Yeah, and then Tana, the reporter's like, how could you do this? And he's like, shut up.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she's like, should we really be hiring supervillains to kill people? And he's like, yeah, we should.
Like, Tana has, like, more problems with this, but she's worried about her job because she's just a nobody reporter at this point.
And then comes my favorite joke in all of these comics. It's a helicopter reporting on Superboy who's carrying a train. He's transporting an engine from legendary Metgo Railroad. So then people look up and they go, it's a bird. It's a train. Nah, it's Superman. One of them anyway.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah,
that was a really, like, quick and clean setup to that joke, too.
I think Carl Kessel, the writer of the Superboy issues, he's a perfect fit for Superboy because he writes the most, like, Spider-Man-esque kind of
He
dialogue.
went on to
Yeah.
write his ongoing for, I think, like 100 issues.
He's a good fit for it.
Yeah. And so at this point, the Stinger shows up and attacks Superboy, and he calls him Superboy, and it's the exact same thing that every time someone calls Marty McFly a chicken.
Yeah,
he's like,
basically.
who you call it, Superboy? And they start fighting so hard that they destroy a whole bridge.
Yeah.
And Tana realizes, like, Vincent Edgelord hired this guy just for news, and now, like, literally hundreds of people have been killed because of this.
And while this is all happening, just to mention a plot that'll become more later, now a public is introduced where an big alien yellow ship is heading towards Earth, and they're basically pretty clear that they're going to blow up fucking Earth.
Yeah.
All right, so the next issue occurs, and it takes place right after the bridge gets blown up, and it's Superboy and Supergirl's trying to, like, save as many lives as they can by, like, stopping all the cars that are falling off the bridge and then going into the water to see who survived.
Yeah. And then Superboy breaks the news to Supergirl. I'm working with GPS exclusively now. Fuck you. And Lex.
This is my favorite part about this. When Lex finds out, he's like, wait, he's technically only 2 days old. These contracts can't be legally binding.
Yeah.
I will tie him up in courts for years.
Yeah.
And I think that's such a funny idea.
Yeah.
I know I'm always harping on how bizarre this world is, but What would a court system be like in a world with
With
clones and aliens and shapeshifters being like I can't imagine a functioning legal system.
I know that's why, but I always find that interesting when it comes up like in stuff like Jessica Jones. Like, how do you prove mind control and shit like this?
Yeah, no, really, it's bizarre because it's like I like society would like. I feel like society couldn't handle it.
That I'd want to read a story about that. Like, how do you make laws?
There is a story. It's called Manhunter by Mark Andreyko, and it's like pretty long, and it's about what it's like to be a DA in this world.
Oh, that sounds cool.
That's interesting.
It's really good.
So what else is potentially really cool for fans of Superman is back at the Fortress of Solitude. There's this. It's called a regeneration matrix. It's like this. It's this big thing that the last son of Krypton gets his power from, since he can't stare at the sun.
Yeah.
And so that it starts to overload and crack, and then inside is
A Superman.
Superman, another Superman. But he's in like the Kryptonian garb with like the frills along the outside of the arm and stuff.
Yeah.
And then he just wakes up and it's just like, all right, tell me what's going on. And then they show They
basically recap the story up to this point for the basically.
Yeah, and he's like, wow, this isn't good. So then he has to figure out something to do. And the part I don't like the most is that since this is probably Superman, it's like this would have been a good stinger to leave at the end of an issue, or this would have been like a good full page spread to do. But instead, it's just like in the middle of this issue. It's just like,
and it doesn't come back for a little while.
Yeah, that's a good point. I really agree with that.
It's so strange for like such a important character in this universe.
And the story starts in the middle of another story. The issue opens with the fucking bridge catastrophe.
Yeah,
so
and
it feels like so out of place, just out of nowhere in the middle of another story. Introduce this.
And as Ryan says, it cuts back to it, and then the rest of the story is just about Superboy.
Yeah.
So Superboy and Supergirl are flirting a whole bunch, and I always find it funny that it's the classic thing of where he can be really like forward with his advances, and she just brushes it aside.
But the rest of the issue is actually about Last Son of Krypton and Man of Steel.
Oh, you're right. I am wrong. I'm sorry.
First is Man of Steel is fighting a bunch of Toastmaster assholes again, and the Last Son of Krypton flies down and basically burns the fuck out of a bunch of them, saying like, okay, now they're dead, we can talk, and talk about you saying my name, Man of Steel, fuck you. And Man of Steel's like, dude, you just fucking burned that guy alive, what the fuck?
Yeah, and he calls him a fraud, and he gets, Last Son of Krypton gets mad. He calls him an armor-plated freak and punches him, and then they start just fighting through the city.
Until Lois breaks it up.
Yeah, and she's like, what? Like, she makes the... the Man of Steel argument where it's like, why are you fighting in a populated area? Like, Superman would know better than that.
And Steel says, like, I can't believe I've done this. Like, this is terrible. I'm the opposite of Superman.
Oh, fuck. I can't believe I've done this.
And Last Son even thinks, like, oh, wow, Steel is showing such remorse. Maybe I'm not honoring Superman. Maybe I'm not, like, the Superman I should be.
Yeah, but this peace treaty, whatever you want to call it, gets interrupted by Superboy's lawyers, Rex Leach's lawyers, coming in and saying, Superboy owns the rights to the Superman license. You guys are being sued.
Yeah, you have to take the logo off your chest immediately. And he burns the papers because he's like, what? I don't care about papers.
And then the gang says, burn him. And he's like, okay, I will.
Yeah, so then Mancy's like, wait, you can't fucking murder a guy just for serving your papers. What the fuck? And he tries to fly off of him.
Yeah. And then, then they fly into space. Because the Last Son of Krypton's like, you're not going to live this.
Your armor's not that good, Man of Steel.
And surprise, it is. He flies all the way back down to Earth and crashes. And
they crash into Coast City.
Yeah, which is Green Lantern City, which will be relevant soon.
Also, fucking amazing how he can, like... Could Iron Man withstand falling from space?
Well, he did in Avengers film.
Yeah, he does in the
from
Avengers
space.
movie.
No,
yeah, he flew into space to drop the bomb on the aliens at the end finale.
He's in the portal.
You're right.
Yeah. So I assume it's the same because in that the way it is here, Man of Steel says like I can hold on for now, but like I'm running out of air and stuff like that. I think it's the same situation where they could do it for a little while, but eventually they're probably gonna die if they can hold on. Like Tony Stark almost died in the movie because of that.
Spoilers.
Yeah.
Oh my god! Fucking watch these movies.
I saw Avengers. The only one I haven't seen was like Batman vs Superman.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, that's the end of the issue, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So what happens next, Sly?
So then they crash in on Coast City, and it's a fucking big crater, and everyone's like, "What the fuck was that? Oh shit, it's a two fucking Superman! Oh man, we're fucked." And Steel
They're fighting.
Yeah, and Steel just fucks up Last Son of Krypton. Like, even though Last Son of Krypton, it can fucking melt his armor probably. But basically, what
No,
Steel
it's made of unobtainium. It's fine.
But what happens is Steel actually breaks his visor and just punches the shit out of his face. Like, fuck you, piece of shit, Superman. You're not fucking Superman. And that's
I like slide jerking off.
No, I was gonna say that was the fight going on in the background.
And so basically, Last One Krypton's like, oh fuck this, I'm flying off. Like, you go back to Metropolis, I'll take care of Coast City. Fuck you, Man of Steel. Go help those people with such a good Superman. And so Steel's like, oh, you're right, man. You're right, I guess. I'll go back to Metropolis.
And Lex books him a flight.
Yeah, so basically Lex is like, I'm such a good guy. I'm going to book him a flight. Like, Supergirl sees him book his flight. She's like, oh, Lex is such a good guy. He's going to book this flight. But Lex Super's like, that fucking dumb bitch. I'm planning to ambush him. Ha ha ha.
This is what I mean. He's like, I'm a good guy. Just kidding. I'm evil.
I'm Lex Luthor.
So basically, he teams up with White Rabbit because basically he wants White Rabbit to kill and Man of Steel to kill each other. Mm-hmm. And so basically, White Rabbit ambushes Man of Steel at the
with her fucking like weird henchman Graham.
Yeah. Like,
oh my.
We'll get to Graham. So basically, first he takes out all the other guys, and just to clarify,
Man of Steel took out all the other guys. He comes in.
Yeah. So and Graham was throughout the story,
just as like a guy.
Yeah, and he basically was like, Bunny, can I take him out, please? I want to take him out, please. I want to take out Man of Steel. And White Rabbit's like, no, we have to save you for the end. Like, you're my ace in the hole. And now he finally comes out, and he turns into he basically
turns into the Blob.
He turns into the Blob, basically. Yes, White Rabbit's like, save me, Graham. And Graham's like, yeah, I got to save you. And he fucking
a like 2-story blob.
Yeah, he just grows into a giant, huge, fat fucking ass blob. And he gets taken out almost immediately. Man of Steel just blasts him with the stomach after all this hype, saying, man, I can't take him out, can't wait to take him out. And then he starts drinking gasoline for some reason. I don't know why.
It's pretty funny because he does seem like this like really pathetic like chubby like neck beard who's always like, please White Rabbit,
yeah,
please White Rabbit.
He's a cuck probably.
and his power is to just be fat.
A fat blobby cuck.
Yeah. So. Then he starts drinking the gasoline, saying, "You wait! After I drink this gasoline, I'll be super powerful." And Steel's like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna do that." He just grabs White Rabbit, and flies away. And then he forces her to take him to the warehouse where they're making the Toastmasters. And she's like, "Yeah, this is the warehouse where we make Toastmasters, sucker!" And it turns out to be an ambush where all machines come alive, and he gets trapped into a mechanical vise. And she's like, "You fucking moron! This is my old Toastmaster warehouse. I have a better one. You're gonna die now. Fucking eat shit. I'm gonna put this bomb here. Now you're gonna die."
Oh, so you really.
But then, Man of Steel. One thing I love when heroes do this, where they're being crushed by something, and they're like, "No, I can't let that happen." He just fucking forces the vise open and basically starts tearing apart the whole entire building by himself.
Wait, so you do like shonen anime?
In this extent, yes.
You do, so don't lie.
Maybe I did.
I like when the villain is crushing this person and they're like, through sheer willpower, they're like, no!
But it's so cool when like the Samson effect where a character's just like, fuck this, and he not only does he break what he's holding, he breaks everything around him and just fuck everything. So basically just like Samson kills all the fucking people that are holding him prisoner, he kills the White Rabbit in this fucking destruction. And now Lex is like, I win. White Rabbit said, fuck everything. Now I get the Toastmasters. And meanwhile, and before White Rabbit died, she was gloating, saying, it's a shame because Lex Luthor wanted to kill himself or something like that. And afterwards, Steel is like, wait, I guess that means Lex Luthor's evil. I realized something that Supergirl still hasn't realized after years of dating him.
So Luthor knows Steel's real name now, and Steel knows Luthor's evil.
Yeah. And that ends... where we're cutting off because there's no real transition from Reign into the actual Return of Superman, but we're designating
this is a pretty everyone's well established.
Yeah, he basically already returned.
Yeah.
To not much fanfare. It's just like, oh, what's happening?
I'm Superman.
So, are you guys excited for part 2?
I'm looking forward to seeing how it resolves.
Part 2 is amazing, I think.
Yeah, I'm super into it.
I think while I was reading this, I really did feel like there were too many Supermen. Like, as cool as Man of Steel is, he really could have just been his own character. He didn't need to have the Superman logo emblazoned on his chest. Like, he really could have been just his person, and like Bibbo personified Superman's.
That's kind of what they do now. Now, like the Steel movie with Shaq, which I always mention because I'm the only person.
When did that come out?
I didn't know that was a thing.
1997.
I never heard of this.
So Shaq made this movie in 1997, and it's unrelated to Superman. It was just the Toastmasters and Steel fighting them.
Is it good?
No. It's not good. No.
I like how quickly he had to warn you. It's not.
I assumed it wasn't because it's a fucking 90s Shaq movie.
Just to explain I want to explain the finale of the movie. Basically,
No spoilers.
it's fucking hilarious. So the finale of Steel the movie is basically the whole movie. Shaq like always throws like cups into trash bags and stuff like that. Basically, and he always misses saying, "I can never make the free throws." And then the ending is somebody throws a grenade into the room he's in, locks the room, and Steel's like, "Oh no, I have to make a free throw. I can't do it. I'm fucked." And then the psychic's like, "No, Steel, you can do it. You can make a free throw." And he throws the grenade into one tiny hole to get the grenade out of the room, and he says, "I did it, Kobe. I made a free throw. Tell me how my house tastes."
I think it's funny how anything Shaq does besides basketball, he's really bad at.
Yeah. It's worth watching if you want to laugh, because it's a pretty funny movie.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah. But anyway, I like the legacy aspect of Steel. I think it's cool.
I agree.
I like heroes being inspired by other heroes and having like
I'm fine with him being inspired, but like it was so obviously done because they wanted to have 4 Supermen instead.
Yeah,
of, like, 3.
but I think having him be the most heroic is a nice twist.
I also find them all unique enough and
Yeah.
interesting enough to be engaging.
I feel like I was just thinking because this was 10 comics overall, and I was just feeling like if it was 10 comics about 2 characters, it would have been a bit more interesting than spreading out between 4.
Or like having so much about the Toastmasters.
I love the scope, and I love that each one's handling a completely different but large issue. Superboy's story is about Tana Moon and her being stuck at this corrupt news organization. Man of Steel is about Toastmasters. Steel, the most mysterious one is the Cyborg, and the last one, Krypton, is basically about him toasting people and his moral struggle. That I like the scope and the way they handle each story.
I think it's very ambitious, and I think it pulls it off a lot better than it has any right to.
That's the best way to describe it, in my opinion.
I'll have to see how it concludes then.
So all this talk of Superboy reminds me of an email we got. Do you remember Never Enough, the guy who gave us the Onomatopoeia reboot and then never talked to us again?
Yeah.
He sent us an email, and the subject is Superboy, what is it, 54? It's some issue number, and the email just says Fat Superboy. And I Googled it, and it is indeed a cover with Superboy that is fat on it. So thank you for that email.
Thank you for your contribution to our podcast.
Yeah. So we're going to be finishing up The Death and Return of Superman next week. Hope you guys are fucking stoked.
Yeah!
In the meantime, rate, review, subscribe on iTunes and Stitcher and Google Play. And as always, us and other great shows like... Who should we talk about this week? Let's talk about Square Roots. Square Roots is almost done with Final Fantasy X. Listen to them. And also, Phil's episode of Comrade Radio came out. And I just released an extra episode on the Comrade Radio feed where me and Owen from Classic Schmassic talked about a book written by Thomas Jane, the actor who played the Punisher. And it was very bad. So check it out.
I'm curious about that.
It was something. It was called Bad Planet, the best title I've ever heard.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
So, yeah, check all that stuff out at comraderadio.com. Well, thank you guys for listening to Divisive Issues. I've been good. Actually, I've been evil.
I've been Graham the Blob.
I've been Vincent Edgelord.
And I've been the Guardian protecting you from that murderer right behind you.
Stay in continuity.